Thank you, Chrissy, and RIU team for giving me opportunity to present my company. Bellora Rocks is a relatively newly listed company. We listed about 12 months ago, January 2022, mainly focused around the projects in New South Wales in Lachlan Fold Belt near Dubbo, and a project near Coolgardie. And since then, we also have been actively looking at M&A opportunity and recently have signed a non-binding term sheet to acquire a project in Argentina, which has got some very good potential, which I'll talk in my presentation. Just on a disclaimer, I'll skip that. So just highlights led by a proven board management team and advisory team. As you can see, also the location of the project on the right-hand side map. It's from Sydney, about 3 hours drive to a town called Mudgee, and we're about 30 kilometres from Mudgee in the project in New South Wales, and Coolgardie, about 30 kilometres west of Coolgardie. We are in Bullabulling area. We're targeting zinc, copper, gold, silver, lithium, nickel, and lead resources. All the tenements are 100% owned. Bellora project, in the last 12 months since listing, we have been able to deliver the maiden resource at about 5 million tonnes, 3.4% zinc equivalent grade. And now we are looking at expanding the resource by drilling along the south of the project, which I'll show you some pictures of. In addition to that project we're drilling, we had 200 square kilometres. Now we're close to being granted another 400 square kilometres into 2 new leases east of the current lease. In terms of our Bullabulling project, which we initially were only focusing for gold, there's a lot of gold work done, but a lot of activities around our project is around lithium, LCT, pegmatites, and we are now pursuing that strategy also, and I'll talk about that. And in Argentina, this project TMT was a good opportunity for us to ignore, and there's a lot of good reasons why we done the deal, and I'll cover that. We are held very tightly, only 54 million shares on issue, and we are fully funded for the next stages of work that we plan to do to expand our resource and do some more exploration work. Team, very quickly, led by Neil Warburton, my chairman, well known, and you can see 7 pictures of there. There's a couple of distinctions. There's only one Indian, rest of all chiefs. But three of those people are Michelle Stokes and Jason Ward and Dr. Greg Partington. They are 3 geologists, each of them 40 years of experience. I've got a lot of geology firepower in my team. Michelle Stokes and myself, we founded the company along with Neil. So we are the largest shareholder, representing about 25% of the share register. And you can see we were one of the more successful IPO, we'll call ourselves, because our share price range, you can see from 24 cents to about $1.50 when we were at the peak. We're down about 29, 30 cents in the range because of a lot of factors, global interest, inflation, war in Ukraine, and a few other things. But hopefully we'll build that back again this year. This project, as you can see in the right-hand picture from Sydney, you can see Bellora mine, and just closer of that on the left-hand side with the black polygon, this is where the Bellora mine and Native B mine, they were historically mined pre-World War, very, very high-grade copper, 3 to 5% copper, 2 to 4.5 grams gold. And it was owned by previous owner, Ironbark. When we got the project, they drilled and they had a 2004 resource on it. So when we did the IPO, we had a very clear focus strategy that we will convert that resource to 2012. So we done 5,700 meters of drilling, RC and DD diamond drilling, and then we have done the resource. And further from Native B South, we've done a lot of geophysics like gravity survey, IP, and magnetics works to define the new targets. And I'll cover that in the next slide. This is the long section of the Bellora resource model. It's 700 meters along a strike, about 350 to 400 meters depth. That's what we have tested so far. As you can see, the high-grade shoot greater than 4 and 6 gram zinc equivalent seems to indicate it sort of opens like northern end and probably open at depth. And we will be testing that in the next round of drilling when we do. Some of the interesting intersections you can see, 7 meters of 2.2% zinc, 2.4% copper, including 3 meters of about 4.7% zinc and 5.8% copper. They're spectacular intersections that we have in our resource. More interestingly also is this Native B. You can see this color in yellowish color, and that's the boundary of the current resource model in the Native B. South of that, where the arrow is pointing, there is an old shaft, Native B shaft, which was obviously mined for those high grades I mentioned before, but there's no drilling done between the boundary, southern boundary of the resource model to the shaft. And obviously, that's what the next target is, that we'll be drilling and testing that out. And also the NBRC-002, that hole that's shown there is still open at depth, so some of the holes will be done, we'll be drilling deeper holes and also extending further south. This is a 3D inversion model, magnetic inversion model that shows you that black outline with the current resource boundaries. And as you can see, particularly from the south of Native B, it's about 1.5 kilometers of a strike. That looks pretty similar in geology and geophysics to what Bellara that we have drilled so far. So we got interesting drilling coming up, 3,600 meters of drill program we have announced. We'll start drilling from next week. It'll be all diamond drilling. Some of the intersections, interesting ones, we can see some of the thicker intersections at the bottom on the first slide on the left hand, 16.5 meters of about 5 to 6% zinc equivalent. They were old holes and they were never drilled for testing the continuity all the way to surface. The hole that we have drilled, BRC-016, confirms it continues all the way, so this was a bonus for us. And the right-hand side is a sample of NBRC-002, the Native B hole. It shows the depth continuity. So there's plenty of potential for us to keep drilling more and further south and down dip for Native B. And beyond that, beyond looking at Native B, which is Bellara, which is testing a 700 meter strike length, including Native B 1 kilometer strike length, and then 1.5 kilometers of drilling that I plan to do in the next few months. There's 20 kilometers of corridor, mineralized corridor that looks pretty similar. There has been no modern geophysics work done. So apart from the drilling that 1.5 kilometers south on Native B, we'll be flying the drones, looking at magnetics and trying to identify next drilling targets along the way. On the eastern side, the 2 leases, they are waiting for a minister to sign. One of them has been signed, and I'll be probably announcing in a week or so the grant of those 400 square kilometers of east. So that will give me that 20-meter corridor. And also on the eastern side, it's pretty well known for hosting orogenic gold also. So we'll be looking for those targets. In terms of Bullabulling now, the second project, the red dots which shows where our tenements is. There's so much of lithium work going on around us, and there's a lot of old gold mines being converted into lithium mines. So that turned our focus, particularly after seeing the results of the WC8, that they have found some pegmatite, and we did some work. Next slide shows the pegmatite presence on in our ground, and the corridor in the blue, the middle one picture that shows that's where the granite contact is, and we'll be doing some more work planning and doing some more testing there. And the right-hand side, you can see the outcropping of the quartz and the pegmatite. I'll just very quickly cover TMT project. This is the Toro project in San Juan province in Argentina. So San Juan is ranked as #1 province in terms of the friendliness mining by Fraser Institute of Australia. There's a lot of big activities going on. If you can see from the south of that red square, Pasco Lama Veladora is a mine operated by Barrick. And the northern side, we have Filo del Sol, which is developing a $4 billion copper mine there. So it's in the right district, 300 square kilometer area. They are the neighbors, Filo del Sol. They have got 1.3 kilometer intersection of 1.33 copper equivalent. And as I said, 4 minutes, there's a lot of good neighborhood, good infrastructure up in the Andes. And site is accessible. My exposure measure there was for 10 days, just come back. We're doing the DD on that. Very excited about the potential of this project. They are the targets. 3 out of the 4 TMT targets are regarded as deposits by Argentinian National Deposits. SIGMA, which is Argentinian National Geological Services, they have defined them as a deposits targets. So, and the southernmost one, Toro, has been drilled. We have seen results of 18 holes, which we're still doing QA/QC. We're not able to announce that yet until we do the completion of DD and the binding agreement. But the holes that I'm seeing gives me a lot of hope of finding something economic there. So in terms of the news flow, there's going to be, I was counting about 40 announcements in the next 10, 12 months. There's a lot of drilling information of Bellara, lithium pegmatite out of Bullabulling, and then the work that we'll be doing in Argentina will be quite exciting and a lot of news flow. So in summary, if we are fully funded for phase 2 drilling, new drilling targets identified to extend our resource in Bellara. Bullabulling, we're doing some work to confirm lithium pegmatite, and gold story is still there, but we'll do the pegmatite first. And we are looking to close our deal on the Argentina project, hopefully by end of this month. Just for contact information, and this shows the slide, the couple of holes that Chris Blazer, my exploration manager, when he was on site. This is the Argentinian, a couple of old holes drilled, and some nice picture there. Thank you.